Hello everyone, Mr. Simple Majority here, and this is episode 1.1, the reboot of The Simple Astronaut. I was sick in the very first video, and I probably shouldn't have started, but I was actually really eager to. You see, I already actually have a game going because I was sick and I just want to play. So, and things have changed a little bit. In the first video, I launched an entire station up as one unit. It's an incredibly bad idea, as I've discovered. It's actually far easier to launch a single, or launch it all up in pieces. Now, we do have station icons up here, but I'm not switched over yet, because every time I dock and add more to the station, it changes the icon back to a ship icon, and renames it. So you see, Kerbin Station Ship. It added the word ship on. So here's my station as it goes right now. We're not going to be working on this during this video, but I did want to show it off. Yes, I have overkilled on xenon tanks. These are large xenon tanks, I believe from KW Rocketry. They hold 3,000 xenon gas each. I've got a total of 5 of those. Plus the battery here holds an additional 2,500, I think? Yeah, 2,500 xenon gas. Over here we have, and then the white tanks are Kethane tanks. These are 16,000 each. Orange tanks are liquid fuel and oxidizer, and then I overkilled again on the monopropellant. And you can see it's really choppy. That's why we're not going to actually be working on it, because every launch it gets worse and worse. All I have left to do is add more solar panels to it on this side, and of course down here. In fact, I actually closed this habitat module off. It actually has 6 Kerbals locked inside of it. Poor guys. And I also have a docking port on each one of them. That way, if I wanted to, I can continually expand on the array if I need to. Right now, I'm just going to start with a basic 4. I found out this. This is interesting. This is a hitchhiker storage container. This is actually from Vanilla. And you see down here it says Module Crew 00. Even if I pull one of the guys out of the home command module up here, these will both still say 00, and I cannot dock or board into them. It will say cannot board into a full module or something like that. So I don't know if it's bugged or it's being caused by H.O.M.E. I'm not for sure. One of the two. So I'm lucky. I'm actually kind of glad that I brought up these 2 H.O.M.E. modules. What else we got going here? Lots of quantum struts, as you can see. I've got lots of those. Underneath here, these are fuel port docks. These will be for return ships. Different ships from out the game that'll be bringing Kethane in so it can process out. Also, satellites that are going to be going on interplanetary that'll use xenon gas can dock underneath here as well. And when I define interplanetary, I mean outside of the Kerbal system itself. So, alright, let's go back down, make sure I hit Space Center and not in flight like I did a couple 3 days ago and had to do this all over again. So the purpose of today's episode is we're going to launch yet another Kethane satellite, which I didn't save last time. So we'll just go ahead and name that SSC for Simple Space Command. And we'll call this GPS C for COM and Moon, because we're going to go to Moon. There's a reason I'm not going to launch this into around Kerbal. The reason is that the deposits for Kethane are generally at the polar regions or way outside of the launch area. So it wouldn't make any sense, plus dropping a base down here, you would need an entire full launch vehicle to get back up there. Or to get up to space with the Kethane. So it makes no sense. So we'll just skip ahead and go to Moon. Now, through the mod, this is from Jafar, I believe. This is the tri-structural mounts. He has some nice little command pods for satellites. We have this one, the real thin one, and we have a little thicker one here. I'm going to use the real thin one because under control he also has an ASAS unit. And we'll take that and drop that underneath like so. Now, we're going to need ourselves a mech jeb. I saw a really awesome quote on the forums. It said, "I may use MechJeb, but I don't launch, I don't hyper-edit bad ship designs into space." And I actually thought about getting hyper-edit, and then I decided against it. Okay, so what are we going to need here? We're going to go to Science, and we're going to grab ourselves the Compact Solar Survey Unit. And we'll drop that right on there. And right now we'll just run with one. Down the road we might add more. But for now we'll just do the one. Then we're going to come under Structure and stick with the trihexagonals. Oh, okay, I remember. This one goes really funny. There's two of them. This is the one we want. There we go. And we'll get ourselves this one here. Whoops, too far. Whoops. There we go. Put that there, and we'll bring that over to here. And rotate like so. Come on, there we go. And one more over here. Go back to page 1. Because I find it far easier to put cover plates on these. That way it will, I don't know, just the ISA map satellite tends to link in a lot better with these cover plates on. One more over here. And there we go. Now I'll go back to Science. That's the other thing. ISA map set, the Dev 4.0 version. It moved the satellite dishes over to Science, which honestly that's where they should be at in the first place. The reason putting 4 on, I've discovered that the more of these you have, the better off the scans are. And I found that out on accident. I usually put at least 2 to 4 on. There we go. We're going to need a battery. Now this is from, this one here from Deep Space Science Pack is bugged. We'll see we got a nice gap. That won't do. So we'll find ourselves a nice little battery to drop in there. I know which ones we'll put in. We'll put in the MMI externals. Because, these guys, whoops, wrong way, there we go, fit up here perfectly, sometimes. So I have a better idea. Something I've been doing in my starship design, or space station design, is if I am going to be cloning a lot of parts, for example, whoops, like this, I need more batteries. Then what I'll do is I'll just do one, clone it, and take it around to the other side. There we go. Perfect. That's a lot of battery, I know, but I like to build big, so. Alright. I'm actually kind of curious about the Xenon and the ion engine pack, which you can see right here. These are the different ion engines that are added with it. We have the large hybrid and the medium hybrid, the electric propulsion, and then somewhere we have the default one, the vanilla. Here it is, the PB ion, and it's a real low one. I've used it before and I decided not to. But now I've got these and I'd like to see how they actually work. So we're going to use the medium hybrid. And that's going to require xenon gas plus liquid fuel and oxidizer to work. And as well as electricals. That's why we've got the big electrical system here. So we got our xenon tank. We're going to need ourselves some propellant. We can come over here and there's a nice 300 unit propellant. We'll use this for our fuel. It's 360 units of liquid fuel. There it is. And 440 of liquid of oxidizer. And we're not going to use this engine. This is from it. This is a nice little tri-hexagonal engine you can put in, or tri-hexagon engine you can put in. We're not going to use that because we're going to do the medium hybrid, this one. So we'll go ahead and see how that, this way, fits in. We could, if we wanted to, go with the large hybrid too, but that is pretty big. But thanks to the hexagon, or this one here, the tri-hexagonal, I may not have the names of the videos on hand with me, but I will put them in the whatchamacallit, into the description. Oops, that's off. That's still off. There we go. So we get a nice little flare out piece. Makes a 2.5 meter adapter. We can come back in here and grab that large engine and drop her on. And now she fits perfectly. Now we're not going to last very long unless we put some sort of power in. Because we're drawing electrical energy, a lot of it, I want to have a nice big solar. There we go. Actually, I think 3 is a bit excessive. Whoops. We'll just do 2. And we'll put that right there. There we go. Nice. And we're going to need ourselves some monopropellant. I also had the stock light, which added a whole bunch of different monopropellant systems. This one's a really nice one because it has a 5th port right on top. We're going to use these though. Oops. Now the fun part. I don't want to block. Can't block anything. You gotta remember that. Don't want it too high because it won't work. Let's go over here. Don't want it too low because it won't work either. Gosh. Well, that's really messing my life up. Okay. Fine, we'll do 3 solar panels. Just to make my life easier, we will do 3 solar panels. There we go, 3 solar panels. Alright, so that looks pretty good for our probe system. We're good to go here. We've got our ASAS up here. Our control unit, our Kethane probe, our 4 ISAs, and our 3 solar panels. We've got the monopropellant, the non-gas, liquid fuel, engine. Okay. I think we're ready to move to the next stage. Come back over here. Oops, that's the small one. I don't want the small one. I want the big one. There we go. The other thing is, I'm just now thinking of that, we probably would want to add, I just thought about this. We're going to want some sort of electrical generators. We're going to use the RLA MMRTG generators. And the reason I'm using these is because you can actually, according to their page, these can actually be stacked on top of each other. Maybe I'll need to zoom in a little bit so I can see them. There. Yeah, so we can actually stack these little guys on top of each other to give ourselves a little more power. We're just going to do just the 2. Because we don't want our solar panels interfering when they're rotating. And I just thought of another thing. These won't actually work. I remember a few days ago I did that and they crashed into each other non-stop, which really sucks. So we'll put these down here, bring up our monopropellants like so. And then we'll grab our generators. And put them up here. There we go. If I wanted to, yeah, I could add a secondary solar panel in. I just have to bring this RCS block down a little bit like this. Those generators will have to come up just a little more. Tuck them up here at the xenon tank. And then I could bring in a second set of panels right here. There we go. And there won't be any interference. Okay. Now, only problem with the little small stack guy here is it can be hard to pick up and grab. Alright, we're going to need ourselves a... Nope, not that one. Fuel tanks. And we'll... Oops. Lovely. Way to go. Click the exit button instead of MacJeb. We'll try it again, shall we? MacJeb, Delta V stats. There we go. Should have had it open in the first place. I had a really awesome engine design I've been using to get into orbit. And it's actually a two-station job. If I do it right, if I can get it right this time around. Oh, how would I do that, though? Decisions. Yeah, just rebuild it. Anyway, it's kind of funny because I've been launching these like station parts and I've never even changed my design, other than I move struts around and stuff, so forth. Which tank was it? Was it this? It's this one. Whoops, missed. There we go. And engines. Where are you guys? Oh, sky cranes. So I had this big boy right here. And then I had not the 1300, it was 1200s? Oh, yeah, and it wasn't these, I actually had radial decouplers. There we go. And I actually positioned them down because I've had much better luck with them down there versus up high. Okay, that's good and centered. Now, was that the engine I used? I mean, it's 3.75, but gotta be careful here. Ah, it was 2700s. That's 1200. That's the one I was using. Yeah, that's the bad boy. That'll get us all the way up into orbit. In fact, we'll actually have whatchamacallit, fuel left over to actually stabilize our orbit if we want to. Which we're not. We're going to switch to the xenon as soon as we get to orbit. Whoops. Love when I do that. Alright, one more to go. It's the idea here, for those that have never seen this trick before. We're transferring the fuel from one tank into the next, and then the next tank is going to transfer to the center tank. So this one and this one and this one will drain off first, fall off. Then these two will drain off and fall off, and then this tank will have all the fuel from all four of these essentially, and get longer flight. And that's why I'm able to get to orbit doing this. I'm going to pitch up so we can see our nodes. You could do this in 4 or 6 design. that one goes here. And that one goes here. So I've tied these two. This is these two tanks here on stage 4. Stage 3 is the other two tanks. That is in the wrong place. Actually, the whole thing is. There we go. Hey, get it in there. Get in there. You dirtball. Fine. Go back up here. And we'll drag you down. Why won't you go into group 5? Interesting. There we go. Alright. Let's see what else. This goes to here. There we go. Now we get everybody's favorite friend, struts. And actually, we're going to put a quantum core in. Actually, I don't know if you need the quantum core for strut guns. Strut guns, radial guns, stretching, 5 to create strut. Nah, see, it doesn't say anything about requiring the quantum core. Struts, 5 to create strut. So you got this quantum core capable of sustaining a number of quantity of struts, max struts 8. I think we will go ahead and drop those in. We're not going to need very many, but we do want to make sure that we put them on to, whoops, here, like so. And we will want to go ahead and add one up here, because once these tanks fall off, there's not going to be anything to hold the struts in. We won't need any struts up here though. I want to point that out. The struts are just going to be used for launching. Turn that to 4. There we go. Okay. Getting our bearings is always such a pain with this. There we go. Technicality, you know what? Be careful how I grab these, but for the lower part of the system, we can actually use the regular struts, because this part will actually fall off. We're actually going to use the quantum struts to bind the systems together. The main tank to the smaller tank. I'll explain in a minute once I get the struts in. Oops. There we go. And then we want to put some struts inside here. We very much do not want our engines bouncing around. There we go, like so. And I think I had another one. Well, I know I had one here. I think it was just like that. That's how I bound it. Okay, So as I was trying to explain a few minutes ago, we don't have to worry about this stage because all that's going to fall off anyways. It's up here. Because what will happen is when we launch, this entire section is going to wobble around. So to prevent that wobbling, we're actually going to use the strut guns because they won't leave any marks. There we go. And that's just going to bind the whole thing together. There we go. Actually, that one there could be bumped up to 4. There we go. That's more than 8. You know what? Screw it. We'll launch and see what happens. Save our design. I'm just like, yeah, screw it. Oh, yeah, we need to put some beacon lights in too. I've been using these to kind of help me identify what's what. It also adds a little ambiance to it, if you will. There we go. I use the red for probes, green for stations, blue for ships, and white is for just kind of adding extra lighting and so forth, which actually does a pretty good job. Station on the hitchhiker modules, I actually affixed 2, one on each side of the port entrance, and I turn those on. There we go. Okay, it's a nice looking ship. Save the design. Last thing we need to do, we need to switch to action groups. I now know how to use these guys. So to use the action groups, you're simply going to click on it. You hold this control key, I believe. Nope, alt key. Or mod key, I'm sorry. That's how it's listed on the wiki. And you can actually select multiple groups. So we'll come under here to custom 1, and we're going to click on toggle panels. And that'll actually extend or retract the panels based on whatever their current setting is. Then we can come up here. We'll have to click on custom 2. We'll click on the light nodes. Now these we'll have to click individually because I placed them individually. Only time that it works as multiples is if you actually did it multiples. So there we go. And we're going to toggle light on each one of these. And we have different modes. We have flash, toggle, interval, cycle modes, and so forth. I'm just going to light it up. I'm not really worried about it. There we go. And if we could also bind additional stages if we needed it. The last stage, I do want to click here on the ion engine. And under custom 10, which would be the 0 key, we're going to shut down the engine. And it won't restart. You'll see why. You'll understand here in a few minutes. Switch back to parts. Save. Launch. If I've done everything correct and I did all my math correct, just that big stage underneath will get us up to orbit. Wow, that's mildly depressed. Oh, there they are. So there's all our strut guns. Notice all of them are lit up. So, that's a good thing. Alright, we'll get our, we got a synth guidance. Go ahead and pull orbital info. And that's it. Oh, you know what? I do this from time to time. See how the engines are wobbling? So I forgot to put a whatchamacallit in. The launch arms. Stability and launch enhancers, I believe they are. I do this all the time. Here we go. Focus on that. Oops. 4 structural and launch stability enhancers. Nor can I ever remember the name of these things. There we go. Resave design. Oh. I meant to say hit save design because I forgot I need to move the struts up. It's okay, we'll do it here. And once it stops lagging, there we go. Drag that up. We're going to change our orbital ascent from 125 to 110. That's going to be my launch orbit. I'm going to turn off limit terminal velocity because there ain't nobody in that ship to kill. Actually, we'll leave it on. We want to stop at stage 0. Everything else looks good. Pilot's ready. Turn off these guys because we're not docking. And up we go. Oh, I already made a boo-boo. I forgot to put communitrons on. There's no use for communications at the moment, but it just, I don't know, makes it look pretty. Why is that station debris down there? I'll have to destroy that later. There goes our first 2 engines. We see our TWRs are real high, 35 seconds. And we got 1 minute 37 seconds on the final engine. It's not even depleting. Now here it's showing it is, but it's not. We can actually right click and you can see it's 10,935. And he's dropping. That's because the fuel from here is not only powering this engine, it's also feeding this tank as well and powering this engine. And you see no wobbling because we really supported the heck out of this guy. There goes the final engines. And now we'll begin our curve. Now at about 50,000, or basically when it hits this point here, the atmosphere meter, it's going to do a fine tuning and coast up to the edge of the atmosphere. And when that happens, we'll drop the engine. And the other thing is, I'll point this out. When this thing cuts off, it's going to shake violently, and it scared me a few times. I thought I was going to break everything, but I've yet to break anything. These engines and these tanks that I was just now using, these are all from KW Rocketry. I should point that out. 37,000. Actually, it might cut off earlier. I'm saying that number on 125,000. It should still cut off right about here. But you'll know when it cuts off. There it is, fine-tuning APIS, and that's it. It didn't shake violently. Drop that off. Bye-bye, tank. Have a nice fall. And we just dumped that with a lot of fuel left in it. We can't even look at it anymore. Now we're about to see how this little engine does. It says 0.44 for TWR. So we'll see how this little guy does. There's our station. Now, because it is a smaller engine, it should actually initiate the node a lot earlier. And that's because of mech job. Got 5 pieces of debris. Alright, so there we go. 1 minute 30 seconds. That's not too bad. We'll see how the TWR looks once we get out to moon. This might be a nice little landing engine. See how the battery is holding. Well, it's sucking the life out of it. 22.61 units of energy drained. It's not doing too bad on liquid fuel and oxidizer, though. That's nice. And this is what I like the xenon. I mean, it's using 0.11 units of xenon. And we're not using very much in the way of fuel here. 0.51, 0.62. The only downside is the battery. That thing is dropping. In fact, it's dropping so much, we're going to go ahead and hit 1 to blow open our panels. Because we are in orbit, we don't have to worry about that. And that should help our charge factor. See? We're actually gaining power back. Let's say custom group 2. That turns on our nice little lights. Make this glow a nice red. There we go. Good. Looking good. And you can see I was mapping. This is what I was talking about. I only put one satellite on, and had these nice thick bands, and then all of a sudden we get these little thin strips. And that's how I inadvertently found out about it. I have not even mapped Kerbin at all. I mean, Moon is more mapped than Kerbin is. That's pretty sad. Alright. We are officially in orbit. Going to bring up MechJeb. Maneuver Planner. We're going to do a match planes with target first. We'll back out. Find Moon. Hey, Moon. Set that, and then we're going to create and execute the node. And what that's going to do is get our inclination right here to match Moon. That way we don't. We're going to end up in we're going to do an inclination change using this one here once we get to Moon. But it just, for general flight, it makes it easier to transfer to Moon. Heavy little bugger. Let me turn on RCS. That'll help it turn. Honestly, that's what it's there for. There we go. That'll be our next item, or node, will be the H.O.M.E transfer to target. That's just going to establish our jump to Moon. I have transferred to Moon many a times under my own steam. Not that I don't like doing it, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of work. And actually waste more fuel this way, doing it that way. Hey, what? I think the solar panels are throwing off the angles. That's why we use set toggle, that way we can close them up. Ooh, we're way past our burn sequence. Oh, you know what? No, there's 3 on here. It's about midway down. I don't know why it's having such a hard time. Boy, it's having a time, though. We're going to go ahead and remove our abort node and remove all. We're going to create and execute our H.O.M.E transfer. We'll just deal with it when we get there. Our inclination's close to 0 anyways, and that's where we want it. It's okay if we're off just a teensy little bit. So our estimated burn time coming up is going to be 2 minutes and 53 seconds. That's actually a little better than the nuclear engine that I've been using. I believe it was like 3 minutes and 15 seconds, if I remember correctly. Excuse me for one moment. If I remember correctly, that's what it was. It says I read I was talking about. That's awesome. I like that. It's nice. We will need our panels back open through the duration of the burn. because it's a long burn. We're going to need that energy. You see, we're also starting a minute behind the node because it's going to take us an extra amount of time to get the burn complete. There we go. Looking pretty good. There we go. I like to see how close I get to my mark. These are the engines I think I'm going to use for larger interplanetary travel. Let's say, for instance, going from Kerbin over to Duna or out to Jewel, or Dres or Jewel even. Going in, you will maybe even going in Eve or Moho. Let's get back in there so we can see our curve. Now all this does is actually transfers to target, which means we're going to crash into Moon. So what we'll have to do, and we'll use this interface to continue that. Go ahead and switch it back to inclination though. That way it's set, or actually, APOS, no, yeah, APOS 300, or 295, that'll be, we'll do a general circularize, and then, we'll do that, and that'll set it, and then we can circularize based on that. So we're over 30 seconds on the jump, or burn, on the Delta V burn. We have 46 to go left on the actual burn. As I was explaining, right now we're set to crash right into Moon. And that's what the H.O.M.E transfer does, is going to do for us. It's going to literally bring us right to it. So about here, or wherever our final line is set, we'll actually initiate another burn. This will be retrograde, to keep our inclination at the 0 mark, or 0 area, and then we'll pull back till about what is it, 200,000, and once we get down to the planet, or into the orbital area of the Moon, then we'll adjust the AP marker so it's at 295, which is about max range for the Kethane scanner. Wow, that's pretty freaking close, actually. Oh, it's not done either. And it's just chasing away. We're close enough. I'm not going to come cry about, there. 0.9. God. Okay, 3-hour mark, we're going to add a burn. This will be retrograding. Now I'm using the prograde button, but I'm dragging back towards retrograde. It's just easier to get a hold of. There we go. And that's 135. 242. 176. 221. Close enough. Now we'll just hit execute next node. Now it's not actually doing this because I didn't create an execute. I'm just executing this node here. So it's going to get lined up on it, and then time warp begins. And this will be a very small burn, 8 seconds. So actually, what we could do once we get to 0 or back to warp 1, we'll actually retract our panels to see if that helps us. And should start dropping off warp. Uh-oh. There it goes. Whew. Okay, we'll close our panels up. Because these are going to be small burns, we don't necessarily need them. There we go. our little generators can keep up with that. And hopefully this will just keep us from excessive wobbling. This is a bad design. Maybe if I put an RCS block here and one up at the top, this would make it go a little quicker. I think a lot of our problems is this. It's just there's a lot of mass up here and it's just real heavy. And this just not enough RCS. As you get close to your whatchamacallit, your mark, that little marker starts to take off from you. As you can see what it's doing, it's running away. So the ship is constantly rotating to get that, try to get on it. And once it gets on it, where it's actually on the blue dot, it will actually fire the engines again. And this even happens when you're in normal flight. See there? So I got 0.5. Let's see where we're at. Now we're close enough. I'm not going to complain about that. Abort. Remove all nodes. Now at this point we're going to do our general. There we go. Whoops. 297 versus 150. Okay. And execute next node. Actually, that's going to be perfect. That'll be even less burns. 43-second burn will be okay on that. Excuse me. Alrighty. And we're going to schedule this change apis at peri-apis. There we go. You see we're getting on the moon. There's the moon. Right there she be. I could have got an achievement if I brought my laser with me. Damn. Oh well. Win some, lose some. Alright, so here comes our next burn. And you can see we're way off kilter. This side's way too far and this side's way too small. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to change our apo-apis to 295. It'll be a short burn. And then we'll do a circularize at the apo mark. And that will actually bring out the peri to 295 as well. And then we finally do a change inclination. And here it goes. As soon as we get down there to the near, or about 1 point, right here it goes. See? It's already taken off. Come on, come on. Keep up with it. Keep up with it. Ay, ay, ay. And inclination, well, that's going to be off anyways. Abort. Remove. Create and execute. Still got about just over 50% monopropellant left. Very short burn, which means it's going to go flipping all over the place like a dead fish in the water. And you see it's already chasing, it can't even keep up with it. I mean, it can't even keep up with it. It's 282, that's fine. We're not going to get anything better than that. circleize at there, next APO abyss. We're not going to get anything better than that. That's just not going to happen. So we'll just try to get our centricity down to as close to 0 as we can. Our inclination is 0.2. We need to get that to 45 degrees. Actually, I would like to get that more like 90 degrees. Ought to be an interesting burn. Why 90 degrees? Because when it scans, it will be hitting the poles as well. Set it to 90. We will burn that at the equatorial N, which I believe is this side here. Maybe this side. And of course, as soon as it gets close, it's going to jump. But we're not worried about that too much. Get as close as you can. 0.1015, that's still fine. I'm not worried about that. Okay, and we're going to create and execute. There it is. Yep, I thought so. That's the equatorial N. And this is a 1 minute and 28 second burn. This won't be perfect because we have issues with our tracking, but it is our final burn. Oh, went to luck. 3.36 TWR, and that's at moon orbit. So this would be a great engine for lunar base. Something I'm going to be thinking about whenever it's time to come here and land. First step in the process, though, is to scan this planet and find those resources. We don't want to just land anywhere. We want to land in the right spot. And here we go. Tell you what, this burn always scares me. It doesn't matter what inclination you do. It just always scares me. You see that PE going down and it hits the moon, and then all of a sudden it starts to rotate. There it goes, see? It's already beginning the rotation. And we have impact right there. But it's rotating, and as it rotates, what will happen here? And in fact, it's about to, looks like it might, well, no, I thought it was about to stop. There it is. No, it's still going. No, it's actually coming back out now. It's just doing it on the other side. It just looks like it's shrinking, but it stops at a certain point, then it starts to come back out, like so. It just always gets on my skin, under my skin every time I see it happening. And I'll show you what the benefits of doing it this way is. Uh-oh. Captain! Extend the panels. She ain't got no power. Oh, we're on the dark side. That's even more funnier. Oh boy. We're so close. Oh man. Crap. I forgot to extend the panels. Where's sun in comparison to us? Oh, we are plain on the back side, dark side of the moon. Crap. Okay, this is a new one for me. We'll have to abort execution. Remove all nodes. We'll have to accelerate time, get back to the bright side. There we go. And bring up this. I'm going to change this to equatorial down, or descending, and see if we can't finish our burn that way. That way we're also on the bright side. I'm sure glad we got those. Look at those panels out. Yikes! Did we get all 6 of them? Yeah. I'm sure glad we got those out. That would be a dampener on the day. Because if you do run out of power, you can't open any panels, anything at all. Alright, we're going to finish our burn now. Only problem is, we're at a very low altitude, 66,000. Not good. Because what it's going to do now, well, it's not going to complete it. We'll just do a circleize once we, that'll be at the AP mark. It didn't do what I thought it would do. I thought what it would do is actually, shrink down to match the orbit. 278. Oh, it's chasing. I'm actually gonna see if I can chase it down. It's bad design. I'm not gonna sit here and mess with it. There we go. It's just a bad design. That was bad on my part. I knew I should have put in some more RCS blocks, and I didn't. So, hey. There we go. And it's showing up here. I mean, we're almost completely out of monopropellant. Well, what is it doing? Weird. I hit I'll remove all nodes. It's fine by me. I mean, it's 283. I'll take it. I don't know why I didn't do that the first time. Let's see, we're nice. Really close to the surface of the moon here. Back to the dark side, Batman. And there we go. This is a nice engine. I'm gonna have to use this more often. I see this being. There we go. Remove all nodes. 285 versus 294. So we're good in there. 0.010. We're good in there. Alright, cool. Let's open it up. Remember, 0 key shuts down the engine. There we go. Engine is dead. We can see the vacuum times. We can double check it by seeing there. It says activate engine. We need to stop our orbit, our spin. A couple things we're going to do here. We're going to first off stabilize our orbit. There we go. Rotate a little bit, stop. And then we're going to turn ourselves until we are at, there we go, this mark, north. Because remember, we're not exactly at a 90-degree angle. Well, we're really not 90 degrees. We want to be maybe at 315. Anyway, idea is to be pointing at the planet. like there. Okay, stabilize. Oh, wrong way. Do a 45-degree pitch down. There we go. SAS on. Pull up this majority Kerbin. You see I've mapped most of Kerbin, I'm sorry, Moon. I've mapped most of this out. Turn on the scan button, POS, let's see where we're at. So what we're actually going to do, I'm going to put time and speed mode. We're actually going up and at an angle. And this is going to allow us to see more of the surface faster. In the projection mode, you can see how much of the surface I have left. You can see how it cuts in here in just a moment. Right here in projection mode. There we go. You see it's cutting out quite a bit. And it's choppy because we're warping. If we slow down, it would actually wouldn't chop. Actually, like down to 3. And you see it stopped chopping. But I usually, when I do this, the Kethane part, I usually let it scan while I'm at work. Oh, I'm out of range. Not good. That's not good. That might be the bouncing change he was talking about. Let's change our orbit. We'll have to reactivate our engine for this. We'll need our maneuver planner. We're going to change APO down to 195. Could not plot because lower and cannot be lower altitude of the burn. Oh, it was Periapus. I always get those two confused. One of them will let you do it, the other one will not. We'll do our next burn at APO. There we go, and there it is. And then we'll just do it, the circulize, and we'll set that to Perry. And hopefully we're in range. There we go. Mind you, we won't get exactly. But as long as that says, yeah, that's what we want. Remove all nodes, create and execute. And while it's doing this burn, I'm actually going to hit the scanner. See, it's now in range, 287. We'll just set it at 195. That's weird because I wasn't over 300,000. Must be a bug. I'll have to say something to put something in the forums about that. Anyway, 200,000 is usually where I keep my satellites, so it doesn't really matter. Unless things change with the scanner and how well they do. It usually just does a thin line, so I don't even mess with the medium scanner. I just stay with the small scanner. And that's good enough for my blood right there, because we're not going to get any better. Oops. I did, remove all nodes. There we go. slow ourselves down a little bit. There we go. And just rotate around. I like to do this because it's a little easier to there we go. It's a little easier to control it. At least in my opinion. Here we go. So we'll put it at about the 45-degree angle. There we go. Turn off RCS. We no longer need that. We'll just reactivate our scanner. There we go. And you see it takes a big chunk out. Actually will make more sense. See here, we got all this up here too that we weren't even hitting in the original scans. 45-degree angle scans won't do as good of a job as this. It'll actually be more apparent when we switch over to the Kethane, because I haven't scanned the moon yet. Activate the detector, and you see it automatically pops the map. We'll bring up speed, and you can see exactly how this rotation works. It does have a detection sound, so when it detects it, it's going to play a sound to alert us. Wait. Maybe I hit... I must have hit activate map on accident. That's okay, we needed the map up anyways. There it goes. That... You hear that chirping sound? That's the detector. And now it's discovering Kethane. And you see it's a very thin line. And if we want, we can turn that sound off. It tells us how many liters it discovered. Oh, should shut our engine back down. Oh, because we're in warp. There we go. I don't usually go above 4 times warp for this part, because just because if you go above it, it gets really grainy and hard to see anything. So let's see how it's dot, because we're passing over the pole. And here we go. Comes up the other side. And what's going to happen is, as it does this, it's going to create these thin lines, and eventually, because the moon orbits itself, it has its own rotation, it's going to rotate, and the satellite's going to see eventually everything. And that's why doing it this method on the 90 degree is far safer and easier to accomplish. So, alright. This will take quite a bit of time. I'll actually be doing this when I'm at work tomorrow. While I'm at work tomorrow, let's put it that way. So, that way when I get home, I'll have a nice Kethane map, and Monday I can actually record the next video, which will be working on getting to moon. And by then I should also have the moon space station up. So we'll just do the last steps. We'll go back to Space Center. And that's going to be it for this episode. Next episode, I'll have my station finished. And we'll actually begin working on Moon. Going down to Moon. That'll include, probably if I can get to it, getting the Moon Station or Mooner Base out there and ready to go. If not, then we will be doing some launches. So, until next time, this is Mr. Simple Majority signing off.